everybody. Welcome to Soulflight. I am so happy to have you here today. I really think you are going to enjoy today's guest. But before I fill you all in on her, I do want to take a minute and I pulled a card again from our postcards from Spirit. And this is the message that they had for you today. Dearest you, we are gathering our magic together to help you celebrate your new beginning. You're stepping into a new version of your life, getting to tell a new story as you create it. Doesn't it feel like spring when the urge to expand wells up inside of you from a primal place? The form of what you are growing has yet to take shape, and it is exciting to experience this new and fresh beginning. It's normal to feel both push and push back when entering any kind of new relationship. It's okay to admit you don't really know what to expect. What you can know is it's time to dive in and allow that new version of life to take shape through you on behalf of your partner in life, Spirit. You have made it to a new level of awakening and contributing, and we are so excited to see where this will take you next. We are so proud of you. And how interesting as we're entering into the new phase with spring upon us, talking about those new beginnings, letting those things come in, and also talking about, rolling with the punches, just kind of being able to go along with the flow. And, sometimes we get those unexpected monkey bars, like trying to start your show and the intro not working. You just roll with it and you keep going, people. And it's okay to do that. We got to lighten up a little bit. So I want to tell you about today's guest. I am so honored to have her on, and I really think you are all going to enjoy her. And please make sure you jump in, send us your questions, because you're going to have a lot of questions, and take us down those rabbit holes with you with those thoughts. So today's guest is Dr. Rita Louise. She is the founder of the Institute of Applied Energetics. She is an esteemed author, and she has appeared on film, radio, television, spoken at conferences around the world covering all kinds of topics about health, healing, relationships, ghosts, intuition, ancient mysteries, which is really what got me very interested into all these things that she has, and the paranormal. I know you are going to enjoy her. Please help me welcome Dr. Rita Louise to the show. Hello, doctor.
Hi, Stephanie. It is so nice to be here with you and your peeps.
Oh, I'm so excited. And I thought it was funny how Spirit just brought in like rolling with the punches, right? And that ability to do that, because I have a feeling that's what they're going to expect us to do tonight. Just kind of roll with it.
Well, it's interesting. At the beginning of the year, because I do a live stream where I do like a 15-minute intro on a topic, and then I open
Okay.
up the chat to questions and
Right.
and doing little like on-air psychic readings for people.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I do it because I love doing it, and it's
Right.
kind of a way of giving back. And so at the beginning of the year, somebody had posted this numerology thing about 2024. So then I
Okay.
had to backtrack a few years to kind of look at where it was coming from.
Right.
And it was fascinating because 2023, according to numerology, was all about like being tested and being
Oh,
challenged,
wow.
working through your stuff,
Right.
having that being presented to you. And I don't know about your listeners, but I know 2023 was challenging.
Yes, that's a
On a
that's
lot
a
of
gentle way of putting it. Gentle way of putting it. Yes.
levels. But 2024, apparently the energy has shifted, and now it's kind of causing you to walk your walk and talk your talk. So if you were working on this in 2023, the tests are still going to be there, but it's
Very
an
interesting.
opportunity for you to use the new
Right?
learning that you have. And so kind of going with the flow and, being with it just really fits with, what they were saying the vibration for 2024 is.
I like how you brought that up, because I know I've been working on things, and even, within my own profession. And I was just working on some things the other day, and I did have that thought of, funny, I started this the year before, and it was like that process of coming to it, being willing to, but I hadn't taken that next step. And now I'm starting to revisit those things that I kind of started processing through last year.
Hmm. And for me, um, I just have really been kind of working on my inner world, and
Right.
so something that normally would make me go into meltdown mode is
Right.
anything happening with my computer. And
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
pretty smart, and I'm very computer savvy. But
Right.
when you turn it on and it says Windows won't start up, it's like, uh, now,
Right. It's
uh,
right.
wait, let me
Yeah.
call my son because he's smart that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, I figured it out, but normally, if it had been me last year or the year before, I would have been in complete and utter panic
Right.
down mode.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, wow, this happened. And you're not in melt. Who are you? You're not in
Right.
meltdown mode. It seems like 2024 has really been whatever you were working on. I don't want to say it's manifesting, but you're not approaching it in the same way, not
Right.
attacking it in the same way. And then you just look at yourself like, who is this person?
Yeah. It's like we're all shifting into a growth mindset of
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, I can take this on and I can keep going." I like that. So I found so many things about you very interesting. And before I kind of start to take us down a rabbit hole of all those topics I found interesting for the viewers, and I appreciate all of your viewers tuning in, but for some of my viewers who may not be familiar with you, can you kind of give us a little bit of background and overview?
Sure. So, and I joke around and say my day job is working as a naturopathic physician and primarily a medical intuitive, where I assess people's health issues and then
Right.
combine it with the naturopathy to recommend herbs, supplements, go to the chiropractor. No, you really do need to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Doing intuitive counseling and energy medicine. And one of the things that I really bring to the table is how our thoughts and emotions affect our health, because somebody
Uh-huh.
might have an
Yeah.
owie, but many times there's some psycho spiritual thing going on behind it
Yes.
that needs to be addressed, or else it's just not going
Absolutely.
to go away.
I wish there were more. Like, I wish there were more people like you that we could just clone who really understand whole body health. Like, it's all interwoven.
Hmm. But I have written 7 books. I founded the Institute of Applied Energetics. I've written hundreds of articles that have been published everywhere. I mean, if there's something to do, I probably have done it. Had a
I love that.
podcast for 10 years. Now I do that live stream, which
Right.
is, I don't consider, on my show, I had guests every week and was blessed
Yeah.
with the people that came on. And actually, Just Energy Radio on YouTube, because
Okay.
they're still there.
Oh, nice. So we can go back and listen to some of the past episodes.
And actually, if people wanted to tune into the live stream, not me, I'm such a bad pitcher, but I'm going for it. Uh,
Go for it.
if they go to Just Energy Radio on YouTube Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central, that it streams to that channel.
Okay.
They
Wonderful.
can interact with the chat there and ask questions, and we have a lot of fun because I'm kind of fun and we just like hang out.
I love that, and I'm going to pop that link in here because I went in and found it. So everybody please check that out. But I do love people who are very authentic, right? You let your personality, you're there to educate, but have fun and just really, to me, that shows a true passion for supporting humanity, supporting spirit, and just bringing everybody to, I don't want to say a gathering place, but a safe space to have conversation.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you.
That is awesome. So I was kind of perusing through your site and looking at, you had, different articles, which I love. Everybody, if you're looking for a wealth of knowledge, hop on. I shared the website at the beginning and I will share it again at the end. There's so much information. And one thing that really caught my eye, because I love mythology. And so you have a lot of articles about, I think I saw maybe two that I had started reading, but mythology, the reptilian agenda, talking about UFOs. How I just kind of want to go down that rabbit hole. I'm not even sure where to start that rabbit hole with the viewers, but I found it very fascinating.
Okay. So, and I'll just kind of put my piece into it. So, and it took me a long time to actually recognize this. So, I've had two loves in my life. The
Okay.
first one was archaeology and anthropology. I wanted to be an archaeologist in elementary school.
I
And
love it.
then I discovered psychic abilities and kind of shifted. Um,
Right.
and so when all of like the ancient alien stuff started coming on TV and stuff
Yeah.
like that, it kind of drew me back into it and ended up writing two books on ancient mysteries, one really with a heavy focus on mythology.
Okay.
And I loved it because it was like my other passion in my life, was
They
that
were
whole
melding together.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I joke around. I just tell people, they're like, "Well, what are you doing in 5 years?" It's like, I don't.
I love it.
Told me, so I can't tell you because
Right. I love it.
they just tell me, and I just argue a little bit, and then just go do
Only
it.
a little.
Well, not really. I'm just saying it very nicely.
I know. I was like, because and they talk about that moving into trusting, which I trust. I'm just not good at taking directives. That's where I struggle.
I hear that, and I just crank at them. Really? You want me to do that? But I don't
Right.
even want to do that, And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just
Right.
do it.
I like it. I always tell people or clients that I work with too, and it seems like the more we kind of push back or revolt like a child, the more it's not like it goes away. It's
Mhm.
just we take the long way. So sometimes it is easier just to submit and say, okay, fine, let's do it your way.
Surrender.
Right. I know that's
Harsh
such a
word.
harsh word. It is. It's a harsh word. I struggle. I struggle with that in all aspects of my life, all aspects.
But I know for me, I've gotten a lot better. I mean, I remember this is a lot of years ago. I graduated from the Berkeley Psychic Institute, and I ended up moving after my time there. And I would just ask because I don't really ever know what I'm going to do. It's like, well, what should I
Right.
be doing now? And they said, well, go back to school. It's like, well, I just left school. So I got my hypnotherapy certification. I became a Reiki master. And there was one other
Wow.
thing that I did that I don't remember. And then I would ask the question, so what should I be doing now? And they're like,
Right.
go back to school. And I'm like, seriously?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was a 3-year argument.
Wow.
So I finally ended up going back to school for naturopathy. And once I was in the program, it was like, this is where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
However,
I like how there's a however.
there's always a however. I finished that and I said, okay, so now what? And they said, oh, you need to get a PhD and write a book.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, seriously?
Right. You're like, come on, guys.
But you know what, Stephanie? I did that and they have never suggested I go back to school again.
Well, I love it. I love it.
And I just wanted to share that piece of the story.
Yeah.
Okay, so I finally did all of
Right.
these steps and I don't regret it because now I can be
No,
Dr. Rita Louise.
I love it. I love it. But no, you're right. Because I don't think there's never been something that spirit has brought me to or through that I've regretted doing. And that's where that trust is, trusting that best interest of where we need to go.
Mm-hmm. Well, and one of the things about trusting God, trusting source, trusting your higher self, spirit, whatever word.
Whatever. Yeah.
And I heard this a long time ago, and now I can really own it. When you're trusting, you're not in fear because they're diametrically
Yes.
opposed.
That's
And so if you're finding
wow.
yourself in fear, know that you're not trusting whatever the next step is or whatever the next thing is.
That's powerful.
It
I
is.
never thought of that way. Wow. I like that. I'm going to have to reflect on that because I've never, and you're right. There are times when you think you're trusting, but there's that little bit of, but or what if this doesn't work out? So you're right. You're not fully into the trust.
Mm-hmm.
Very insightful. When you're working with, spirit or your clients, what do you I guess what is like the best, and I know it all depends on scenarios, but advice. So many people are searching, and we're all searching for different things, but I feel like more and more of people I come in contact, there's more of that yearning of understanding and that searching. Do you encounter that, and how do you help your clients either reach their higher self or come into the understanding that they're seeking?
Hmm. I guess I don't know that I would put those words to it with
Right,
what I do in my practice. I think what I really try to do is to help them understand themselves better and
right.
understand their motivation. Um, I live in Texas. Not that my clients are from Texas, because I
Sure.
work with people, by phone or Skype or whatever. Um, but there's a lot of people that shy away from that word, like spirit.
Absolutely. Right. And how do you work within that? How, because this is, and maybe that's where spirit's taking this, is this can be such a taboo topic, even for people who have a belief in it, they don't always talk about it openly. So how do you help people through that?
So
Is there a way?
every so often, so I have a gating question with my clients, and I ask pretty much everybody, we'll have a little discussion to begin, but
Right.
pretty much everybody I say, so if I say the words orange chakra, do you know what I'm talking about? And even if they don't understand what they mean,
Right.
they're familiar with it. And every so often I get someone that says no. And I do, again, a lot of health related work.
Right.
And all they want is a supplement.
Right.
And that's not how I fly. It's
I
like, yeah,
like that.
you have this emotion staring me in the face that I need to talk about, but they don't want
Right.
to hear it.
Right.
So those are not particularly fun sessions for me at all.
Right. Right.
I mean, because I need to just get in. I don't want to say I channel because I don't channel, but I just get into this groove, and whatever wants to come up and wherever I'm led,
Right.
that's where I'm going to go. And so if you have this emotion or this thing sitting
Right.
there, I need to be able to talk about it.
Yes.
And so then when they say, oh, well, I don't believe in that stuff, I'm like,
Right.
did you look at my webpage, Joel?
Right. Like, how did you find me?
How did you find me? And did you look? Because it's pretty obvious, where I'm
Right.
coming from.
Right. Do you think people, because I know I'll have clients that'll sit down, and I'm the same way. When I first moved into practicing openly, I would, advertise, okay, a mediumship reading or a psychic reading, but, or, even if I was doing Reiki, but I found that everything kind of comes into play with a client. And so now I just do what I call blended services.
Hmm.
And I'll have that, I'll have a client that would come in and they would say, "Well, I want to try to connect with my mom." But my intention is always to serve the client at what they need to know right now. And so, like you're saying, spirit will bring something up and they go, "No, I don't want that. I want my mom." And I'm like, "Okay, well, your mom says hi, but we need to talk about this." Like, and people do, because I don't know if it's people come in and they think that they can like hide that emotion or tuck it away and spirit's just going to overlook it. Does that make sense? Like, they're like, "Oh, well, if I tuck it over here, they're never going to find it and spirit won't bring it up and we'll move past it." And that always seems to be like the first thing spirit brings up.
Always.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Like, sorry.
I know.
Or you bring it up. I mean, usually when I'm working with someone, I kind of take a generic look at their space and whatever is the first thing that pops up, I
Right.
talk about, and then, because I like questions, I like
Yes.
problem solving,
I get
so,
that.
so where your owies are, that you have a messed up relationship. If you want to talk about it, tell me.
Right.
And then it's not me like, talking to you about something that you don't care about and
Right.
spend a half hour talking about work when that's, yeah, work sucks.
Exactly. Right. It's just part of what we got to do. Right.
Versus, I'm having this issue with my husband. Can you help me kind of sort through it of what's going on
Yes.
or a better way of addressing the issue or whatever? Um, but I always take a general look. And what I have found, whether they agree with me or not, by the end of the session, we have always looped around back to the original comment.
Yes. Yeah.
And I
It's
find
like
that
you can't.
fascinating.
That is fascinating, and I've noticed that too. So it's interesting when you talk to other people in the field that have that similar experience. Like spirit always connects things and brings it full circle within a session.
Hmm.
So what is your, people might be listening and they're like, "Wow, this sounds awesome." But how or why would they come to see you? What kind of things do you look at that you can help with?
So a lot. I joke around and say, I will talk to you about anything. I have
Yeah.
two caveats. I don't talk to dead people. That's a
Right.
hard line.
Right.
And I don't predict the future. So if you say,
Yes.
when am I going to get into a relationship? It's like, I'll tell you why you're not in a relationship,
Right.
but I'm not going
Right.
to say, oh, that's going to be next week because
Yes.
we can't predict the future.
No.
Okay. 99% of the time, every so often, something will come through, but I just put it in like, I don't know. I kind of getting this feeling, but
Right.
it's not a definite, but then it always ends up happening.
Yes. Yeah. No, I know what you mean though. And I like how, because that was always my thing too, was I I'm not a fortune teller. And when I was first practicing, I worked for a psychic phone in line, which was nice as far as practice, but it was so many of those things that to me wasn't serving spirit. I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't need to be a psychic to tell you if there's issues within your relationship. If you're questioning things, why don't we talk about why you're questioning these things, or why you're asking me if your married boyfriend's going to leave his wife versus, and people don't look at those underlining issues. So I love that you are trying to have them confront the actual pinpoint, maybe why they want to know those things, or what's going on that they're feeling that way.
But you were asking about the things that I do. So those are the two things
Yes.
I don't do. After that, I mean, I do health stuff, so if you got a pain over here or a thing over here, I can sit there and look in your body and go, okay, there's inflammation here, but actually the real cause is over here.
That's
This is where
awesome.
the naturopath part comes in.
Right.
You know, and this is the real issue, and this is just a secondary symptom. And if you go to the doctor, they're just going to tell you crazy and have you leave with a,
Prescription or
prescription for
something. Yeah.
something. Yeah. And, so that's, and with that, a lot of times the emotional belief part will come up tied to the health
Yes.
concern. Not always, but most of the time. But I'll talk to people about their relationships. I do a lot of work with people that have had trauma,
Yes.
people that are like codependent and working on, um, actually I have a lot of clients who don't emotionally regulate well.
Yeah.
And so for people that aren't familiar with that term, emotional regulation is something happens and you have this over the top reaction. you know
Right.
I stubbed my toe. Wait a minute, maybe I broke it. Wait, maybe I have cancer in my toe. Wait,
Right.
wait.
Right.
And now they're online and they're freaking out and you get these phone calls. It's like, but I might have cancer. It's
Yeah.
like,
I was on WebMD and this is what it told me. Yes.
so there's addressing their issues, but
Right.
then there's really helping them emotionally regulate so that they're not being so triggered by they stubbed their toe.
Right. What is that bringing up? So I know some people that are medical intuitives, and when they're working towards the healing and that process with the client, they do like emotion code or body code. Do you utilize any of that within your practice?
So I do energy work,
Okay.
and I want to just say it's a very blended
Yes.
thing. I am like so a not dogmatic kind of person,
I like that. Yeah.
and so, if I need to apply some Reiki on your liver, that's what I'm going to do. If I need to do some tapping on your heart, that's what I'm going to do.
I
It,
love it.
I do what your body tells me to do.
And I love that because people respond so differently. And, I think that the medical field in general has us looking very one minded. And so being able to look at the person, knowing what's going to work for their body is amazing.
Well, and it's more, especially when I'm doing energy work, I'm actually interacting with their body.
Right.
So I had two very quick stories. I had one client who, I mean, he was Muslim, but he was very devout. And
Okay.
I'm working on him, and I was compelled to pray. I don't freaking pray,
Wow. Yeah.
but it was like, okay. And so I said, okay, I'm feeling compelled to pray, but I got nothing. And so he
Right.
and I prayed together.
Oh,
And it
I
was
like that.
beautiful. It was
Yeah. Oh, I
beautiful
have goosebumps. Yes.
too.
Yeah.
And then I had another client who was very, I don't want to say resistant, like she wasn't emotionally resistant to
Right.
getting energy work done. But man, anything you did was like overloading to her system. And she
Okay.
would come and I would open up her grounding cord like a little teeny bit. And
Yeah.
that was it. And I would just hold space with her,
Wow.
so that this little bit of energy could drip out. And it
Right.
took months before I could do anything deeper with her. And it
Wow.
wasn't that she wasn't willing, it's that
Right.
her body just was like, And she had gone to other healers that were like, here, we're going to do this and fix this and adjust that. And she would never
Right.
go back because it was too much.
Right. And so taking that softer approach is what she needed. I like that. Do you so uh, and I have friends that, work as medical intuitives, and some of them have what they call their spiritual team. And so they have people that they might recognize as, well, the surgeon came in and they do like the psychic surgery kinds of things. Do you have a specific team that you work with, or does it vary with the clients who comes in to work with them?
So I'm not that nosy.
Right.
And I don't talk to dead people because I don't want the dead people coming to my house. And
I get I laugh because
surgeon coming to my house. I'm not sure, you know.
I laugh because I understand that sentiment.
But I have the peanut gallery. That's what they're
Right.
called. They sit over here. They always are to my right side.
Okay.
Are the best backseat psychics on the planet.
I love that.
Because I'll be like, well, what is it? And they don't say anything. And then I go to speak and they'll be like, oh, well, it's this. And it's like, and they tell me weird stuff.
Right.
I mean, my favorite story, I'm working with a client and I think she had like a bladder issue, kidney issues. It was urinary. And I'm, going, okay, so what would be a good supplement for her? And usually, like I'll have my computer open
Right.
and I hear hydrangea. And I'm
Oh,
thinking, I have hydrangea growing in my backyard.
right.
It's a pretty flower. Why would I recommend, it wasn't
Yes.
on my radar of supplements. And I'm like, hold on. So I looked it up and guess what? Hydrangea is a urinary
Wow.
tract supplement. I couldn't tell you what it was for, but it was like,
Right.
okay. So now I become very open to this weird
Your
comp.
peanut gallery. I like that. I like that.
It's like have her use a castor oil pack. And I'm like, okay, hang on. And I get on my computer because it's like, listen, but verify. And
Yes.
they have told me weird stuff that I would never say to somebody.
Wow.
But when I verify it, it's true.
That's really interesting. I like that. And I like learning about other people's processes, how they connect to spirit, how they connect to their clients. And I want to take a really quick station break. But when we come back, I want to talk about more about you, how you moved into this aspect. We touched upon them taking you back to school, but I don't know many people who said growing up, I want to be a psychic or I want to work with spirit. And so I just kind of wonder how that unfolded for you. But we'll
Okay.
be back in just a minute, everybody.
Are you interested in the paranormal, ghosts, spirits, and the metaphysical? How about Mothman, Bigfoot, and other cryptids? What about UFOs, UAPs, and other anomalous phenomenon? Then you need to check out Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. We have all that and more. Watch our series, Cap's Road Trip, where we travel across the U.S. in search of these phenomena and bring you not only the history of these locations, events, and encounters, but evidence that we capture along the way. Alongside our team of researchers and investigators, you never know who will be joining in on the investigations. Are you interested in Bigfoot in Upper Michigan? Check out Finding Heighton, a series documenting the Sasquatch activity on a very special 80-acre property just outside of Menominee that has been a hotspot since 2012. Are you looking for something to listen to on your morning commute, road trip, or just hanging out? Head on over to our YouTube and check out one of our several podcasts hosted by members of the CAPS team. Topics and shows spanning everything from paranormal, UFOs, metaphysical, cryptids, and more. And if you're into spooky, check out our mini-series, Spirits of Menominee, which documents the paranormal activity of downtown Menominee, Michigan, or Spirits of Macville, where we investigate one very active location. Head on over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button and you won't miss a minute.
Hey, everybody. If you are just tuning in, we are having some fantastic conversation with today's guest, Dr. Rita Louise. I'm so glad again to have you here. I've really enjoyed our conversation so far. I find it all very interesting.
It's been wonderful. I'm like, wow, it's been a half hour.
I just looked at that too. I'm like, we're running out of time. I don't want to lose you. We'll have to look at having you come back. There's just so many different topics to cover. I would love it too. So we had talked about a little bit before the break, how, you talked about how spirit had you go back to school and the ways that when you moved into trusting, they moved you. But how did you even get into and accepting the fact of working with spirit?
Okay, so again, there's the peanut gallery that's there.
Right.
I don't know who they are. I don't ask. They just like have their little bench.
I love it. You're like, I'm good with it.
There are no dead people. So, I'm a little emotionally challenged saying working with spirit. I like saying working with, source or God.
I like that. Yeah.
It's spooky. But
I love that.
Ghost hunting. It's one of my anomalies.
I love it.
So, and I totally date myself with this. So when I was like 12 or 13 on TV, there was 2 TV shows. One was The Amazing Kreskin, who had ESP. Okay. And he did like a variety show, and he would get people from the audience and they'd come on stage and he would do all this stuff.
Right.
He was amazing. And then there was another show called The Sixth Sense, which was a series that featured Gary Collins, who was a parapsychology professor at a college, and he had ESP too. And he would like go into a room and he would pick up a pen and he would see Mary getting into her car and she would be driving down Highway 1 south. What? And the car would like fly off the road, but he would see that the brake lines had been cut. And he would go outside and he would stop Mary from getting in the car, and they'd look and the brake lines were cut.
Right.
Hooked. I was hooked.
I love it.
And I wanted to learn how to be psychic. I mean, I wasn't really thinking that I would like do it for a living.
Right.
I wanted to do that. So I spent a lot of years reading books, figuring like if I kept reading all this stuff, that I would end up psychic eventually, which really didn't happen. And finally found the Berkeley Psychic Institute and studied with them. and discovered after paying them a lot of money and doing
Right.
their program for 3 weeks that I had been very psychic my whole life, and
Yes.
no one ever connected the dots for me. And so I look at that time in retrospect of these situations where,
Right.
you know, I joke around and say my seventh chakra, my knowingness, is directly connected to my mouth. And
I
when
love that.
it always comes through with some kind of snarky, sarcastic comment, that's always true. It's always true. And it's like, okay. But at the time, I didn't know that that was a psychic thing. I just thought
Right.
it was like some weird coincidence, or you'd say something and they'd look at you like, you're weird, and then just move on. And you would never find out that like what you said was really true.
Right. You know, I like that. When did you start seeing that validation coming in? Where you started, kind of connecting those pieces? Was it after you had or during your time at the Berkeley University that you saw the validation and that connection?
I mean, and that was really their focus. And I tell my students the same thing. It's like, I am not teaching you how to be psychic. What
Right.
I'm doing is creating scenarios to validate
Right.
what you already have.
Yes.
And some people are very intuitive. Some
Yes.
people are more visual. Like the course I train, the Applied Energetics Institute, it has some clairsentience, which is feeling as part of the course, but it really is teaching someone to be clairvoyant, to look at
Right.
this energy, look in their body, look at this, look at that. And most people will end up with some kind of skill, some people better than others, kind of like dancing.
Right. Like anything. I mean, you've got good plumbers and plumbers that might be able to keep your pipes from leaking, but they'll
Yeah.
have some kind of skill set. I did find that interesting when I was some of the courses that you offer, and I saw that you did offer the intuitive medical course. Is it like I look at, like myself, I'm like, okay, I have these abilities, but I don't think I could ever just look at somebody and teach myself to do that. Is that something everybody can learn?
So in the training, I mean, I'm going to say yes, especially if you're a visual person. If you're
Right.
more of a feeler, much harder. I can't offer that because even though I'm very kinesthetic,
Right.
I can't teach it because that's not what I'm at or what I am.
Yes.
And I was going somewhere with that, but yeah. I know. So the way the training is developed is, so there's 4 modules. And so in the first module, it's all about you. How does your energy work? How do
Okay.
you ground your body? What are your chakras? Do a little baby assessment on your chakras. Here, do a couple of energy work things on yourself.
Right.
How to run your energy, and just some very basic things on yourself.
Okay.
The time you move into the second module, there might be some classes where you're doing an exercise on yourself, but the focus is more do it on someone else. Okay, you know how to ground your body. So now ground
Right.
someone else's body. Give their
Interesting.
aura.
Yeah.
And so it just adds on and adds on. So by the time you get to the medical intuitive module,
Okay.
it's like you've been practicing and practicing and practicing, and I'm just adding little pieces.
Layers.
Equation. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that approach. Building up to and instead of kind of diving in, because that could be a big elephant to eat, so adding those stacks on there.
Well, and one of the things that I feel happy about my program, you see, not to diss anybody,
Right.
but they offer medical intuition certification. It's like 2 weekends.
Yeah.
And, medical intuition to me is about being able to read. And if you
Right.
can't read somebody, then you can't do
Yes.
medical intuition. And
No.
so, the focus of my program is to develop those psychic reading intuition skills so
Right.
that by the time we get to like assessing the body, we're actually starting to focus on, well, what can you do about it? Well,
Right.
here's a course on herbs. Here's a course on,
Yes.
you know, not healing modality, like not energy work healing modalities, but more practical
Right.
healing modalities.
I like that. I like the idea of layering, but then, pulling in those other things. And again, like you said, not to diss on anybody, but if I was looking for a medical intuitive and it was a weekend program, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't want them filling me
Mhm.
all what they thought was wrong with me. You're looking for the education, that authenticity with somebody and their abilities.
Well, I joke around, and this is my dad in my head. It's like, the program is written so that by the time you're done with any of the levels of certification, you're ready to hang up a shingle and start working
Yes,
because there's a lot of practice that's involved,
I like that.
in order to get through it.
Right, absolutely. And that then brings in those, as I was thinking about this, like when you were talking about that, and I'm like, yeah, where were you like 20 years ago when I was a lot younger as an EMT? How great
I
would
was
it be to pull that in?
there.
I love it. I love it. But you know what I mean? To be
Mhm.
able to have people open enough in doctors, EMTs, paramedics, even, people working within the mental health practices, to be able to pull these ideologies in and be open to looking at those things.
Mhm. Yeah, but they're not,
Do
which
you
is
do you
really kind
think
of
we're
sad.
shifting that way? Do you think as a society we are shifting to more whole body care versus where we are
Interesting
now?
question. So I think that society wants more whole body care.
Right.
I think the medical profession is not interested. They can't patent herbs.
Correct.
They can't make money off of it.
Right.
Working with a medical intuitive gets rid of all the diagnostic stuff.
Yes.
No CAT scan, no blood work, no this, no that, no other thing. And so
Yeah.
it really is like cutting into their profit.
It
So,
is.
and that's
And
just sad to say.
it is. And I was going to add to that. And my husband and I have had this conversation. Not that people in the medical field care, but it's a business. And that's the hard thing. And we've talked, my belief is, initially here on earth we were given everything we needed
Mhm.
to heal, to take care of things, to treat whole body. And as we've moved as a society away from that, we've forgotten those ways. We've forgotten the ways to self heal. We've forgotten, like you said, who would think hydrangeas, but they were here for a reason,
Mhm.
and we've forgotten about that. I was talking to somebody the one day about hostas, the little green plants. Those actually used to be planted for a crop, but we just see them as domesticated plants. So we've moved so far away from what was given here to us to be provided for versus what they want us to use.
Well, one of when I'm talking health, uh, big sticking points is, so there's viral, microbial,
Right.
accidental things that can happen. And I've added another category, and that's neglect,
I
especially in
True.
America.
True.
We are taught to neglect our body.
Yes.
We are pushed to eat junk. I've taught nutrition classes, and the people in the class are like, well, what do you eat? And I'm like, well, you eat from the edge of the supermarket. And they just look at me horrible.
Right. I know. It's okay to throw a pizza in once in a while, but not every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. I mean, they were like, well, what do you eat? I said, so probably the most offending things that I eat, which is not every day,
Right.
is bottled spaghetti sauce because I'm too lazy to cook it. But that is
I love it. I
right.
love it.
And
Right.
white roni because I really like it.
I love it. Yes. No,
And then
it's
like the pizza or like the fried chicken, that's like every so
yeah.
often. Those other things tend to be a bit more regular.
Yes, I get that. And it's interesting though, you add into, so having people be aware of what they should eat. But then I have a friend who does the AO scans, which and I
I'm not
don't
agree with
know
that.
a ton about it. Ellie would be the best person to talk about it. But anyway, it's a voice recording that you say into this AO scanner, and it reads like the frequencies in your body, and tells you like food allergies, organs that aren't working correctly, all of those kinds of things. Like, you get all these reports, and then it creates a sound wave that you play to help initiate self-healing. But the point of that is, I had been for about a year. In the morning, I'd have a protein shake with a little bit of peanut butter and then a banana every day. And I was like, I was losing weight, but I felt horrible. I'm like, why? I'm doing the protein, I was walking. I'm like, I should be feeling better. And when she did the AO scan, the first thing that came up that I read was I had a banana intolerance. And I was like, oh, but all these things, like, you can think you're doing everything right.
Mhm.
And who would think a banana intolerance? Like, who can't have bananas? Everybody can have bananas. So it's just so interesting. We do not realize how fundamentally out of balance our bodies are because society says this is normal. It's
Mhm.
not normal.
But everybody's body is different.
Right.
Like, I'm allergic to milk, so I don't have a milk intolerance. I'm allergic.
Right.
And apparently I've been allergic since I was a little kid, but I was 50 something years old when I finally connected the dots and went, "Oh, you're really like allergic to it."
Yeah.
And I had like got rid of most dairy. Um, and then I worked at Starbucks for a while, and they're like, "Why are you here? You don't drink milk. You don't drink coffee." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's better than Walmart." And
Right.
they put me on the bar, and I broke out with a rash across both hands.
Wow.
And oh no, it was pretty funny. So I go to the doctor because I had this really bad case of athlete's foot at the same time. And he looks at my foot and went, which is never good. And then I
Right.
go to my hands, and this was the funny part. He goes, "I need you to go get blood work done." And I'm like, "Okay." I go, "Why?" He goes, "Because if you present with a rash on the palm of your hand, it could be syphilis." Now, how the hell do you go home with that
Right. Yeah.
to
Like,
your husband?
hey, honey,
How do
guess
you
what?
know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have.
I mean, it turned out that, you clean the steam wand off that's covered in milk with your hand. And it was
Oh,
the milk, it was contact dermatitis.
who would have thought? That's, yeah.
And so I was like, okay, so me touching the milk
Right.
is doing this. So now I'm like hardcore. Every
Yeah.
so often I'll eat a piece of cake, but after
Right.
that, it's like, no.
Yeah, I'm done. No, wow. And that's a great point, though. I mean, how would you have even connected that had you not had the insight
Or the
out?
curiosity.
Right, right. I think so many of us, even when we go to, regular practitioners and those kinds of things, we we say, "Oh, well, this pain in my knee is never going to go away, so I'll take a pill to help it feel better."
Mhm.
Or, and not connect it to anything else other than, "I'm getting old, that's the way society says my body ages." We really need to start advocating for our own health.
Well, and then there's the other part, and I'll just use the milk as the example. You tell the person they're allergic to milk, and it's like, "But I love cheese," and they won't quit, but it's
Right.
messing them up. And it's like, well, you're coming to me complaining,
Yes.
and I'm telling you this is the issue, but you're not willing to invest in yourself, which goes along with the neglect. You're
Right.
not willing to invest in yourself and your health, or at least you feeling good. I mean,
Why
you
do you think that is? Why
people.
do you think that's ingrained in us, that neglect?
I just don't think we're taught
Yeah.
to pay attention. I
Yeah.
mean, our parents didn't. I know my parents, it's like, "Oh, I got this, but I got a pill," and they
Right.
just surrendered everything.
Well,
To
and
the
you're right. I mean, in my family, everybody was big boned, right? Oh no, we're just big boned. Or it could be because we never taught portion control, and that's what as I got older, realized I don't have to eat a whole large pizza. I could stop at 2 slices, and no, we're not big boned. We just don't have portion control. It's true. It's a true story. My sister's listening. She'll vouch for it.
Oh, I'm not arguing. I come from a family of big eaters, and I'm pretty
Yeah.
scrawny right now. And
Oh,
they look at me like, we hate you.
right.
And they think that I like eat all this stuff,
Yeah.
and but people that really know me, they're like, you need to eat. And I'm like, I had my rice cake today. Leave me alone.
Right.
And literally, it's a rice cake with peanut butter. And that's what
Well,
I
there
had
you go.
for dinner.
At least you got a little protein in there.
At least I ate something.
Right. That's true. Well, I feel like I could just sit and talk with you for hours, but we are really just short on time. Is there anything that you want to make sure that the viewers hear about you or their health?
With what I have been seeing, I like to kind of check out the energy on the planet, which I don't know if you've noticed this lately, but it's been really kind of psycho. I mean, I've done several episodes on my live stream just to talk about like, well, I felt good yesterday, but now it's like I can't even think anymore. And I know that it's not me. And you start asking around and it's everybody.
I'm glad I'm not alone. Like even today at my day job, I'm like, people, what in the hell is going on? Like everybody lost their mind.
Mm-hmm. Now, see, I had a good day today. Yesterday was kind of a shit show. Today was really good. But I also actually, I got a ton of work done, but it was a good day. And so that's what I want to communicate with people is it might not be you. It might be the energy that's on the planet that you are just in resonance with and being affected by. And so if you're concerned, maybe stop and take a step back and go, what's going on in my life? And is this really me?
I like that. Yeah. I think sometimes it's hard enough to allow ourselves to feel the emotion, but then to, inspect that or connect and say where that's coming from. But that's a very good point.
But you don't even need to know where it's coming from, just to recognize whether it's you or not. Is there something going on in your life that supports why you might be feeling that way? You just got fired from your job. Okay, you feel like crap. That makes sense. But if you're like, I didn't do anything. I woke up and I woke up.
Right.
And I don't know why. That you might want to say, well, is it really me?
Yes. Yeah.
But if people like me, my webpage, soulhealer.com, that's soulhealer.com. You can drop me an email. We can set up a time for a consultation. Check out all the books. I have 7 books on there, and they're all on Amazon and blah, blah, blah. And I'd love to visit with you all.
Yeah, check her out. I have shared, the website in there a couple of times to everybody that's listening. And I know there's a couple books that I've jotted down too that I want to check out. They're all listed on the website, tons of information. So I really encourage you, even just, I think sometimes we're afraid to make that initial step, or we're afraid to make that investment in ourselves. But, we pay our phone bills. How many of us go out and get our nails done, or we spend and invest in ourselves in physical things that don't necessarily matter. And it's time that we take away that guilt feeling for investing in ourselves, in our whole selves, in our health and mental health, physical health. That's really where we need to start investing. So I encourage everybody to take that step, reach out, find something that resonates with you, and be well.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, Rita, I really truly have enjoyed this. I hope we can connect again. I appreciate you sharing me with your viewers and you coming on and talking to mine.
I had so much fun, Stephanie. Sometimes you do an interview and you just don't really know. But this was so like-minded. It was like, oh, we're here talking shop. I love talking.
Yeah, I know. I loved it too. Even some of the things you said, and I have a hard time with that sometimes too. Like you said, you don't know what you're getting into with interviews. And same, when you don't know who your guest is very well. And so it can go lots of ways sometimes. And it's like, oh, well, we have that in common. That's cool. Or, oh yeah, I get that. So I love when that connection is made.
Yeah. Well, it just makes it be more organic and wonderful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And on that note, everybody, we want to say goodbye to you until next week. And I believe when I come back in 2 weeks, Ellie and I will be on together, bringing back In the Mix. So be sure to check us out, watch on Facebook, and check out the new website for upcoming information. We'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.